I think the thing that's really interesting about being a screen composer is that the objective is to get the feelings in the movie through your brain out of the speakers. That's the job. Get the feelings that are in the movie into a format that works with the movie and lifts up the movie, and get it coming out the speakers in a way that is really going to speak to an audience. My name is Red James. I'm a lifelong professional musician, and I live and work on unceded Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish territories. I made the jump about 14 years ago to composing for screen-based media and also to producing records. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you might be able to make the jump to composing for screen as well. The weird thing about a life as a screen composer is that there are just so many fucking ways to do it. And so there's this now there are, educational programs and there's, ways of going to college, like Humber College is an amazing college for that. We have a great screen-based media composition program. Got a bunch of composer friends, including Erica Procunier teaches in that program. She's an incredible Canadian composer. You should look her up. Lots of people teaching in this program, but there's also all these composers that are these fantastic authorities in the field and people who've been composing stuff forever who started off not being able to read music. Like Danny Elfman has said very famously, when he started off his career, he didn't know how to read music. He had a little handheld tape recorder and he'd be in the middle of a meeting, he'd be like, 1 sec, and he'd run in the hallway and yell some shit into a microphone. And that was just how he recorded his ideas. I think the way to score a movie is to find out how movies work and to find out how you work. So the decisions that you're going to make as a film composer, as really any kind of person working in media that is related to emotion, story, cultural properties, is understanding who you are and where you are in space and time. So learning what kind of person you are, learning what you need, learning how to understand and empathize with characters on the screen, how to empathize with the director and the actors, and how to get at that emotional data from something that when you get it, kind of looks like a dog's breakfast. The most important thing that you need to remember if you're making the move from being a musician of whatever sort of professional or practiced level to becoming a composer for screen-based media is that it's not about you. And that's a really hard lesson to learn. It's a very, very hard lesson to learn, to realize that the most important thing happening is not you doing the Red show, you doing the Matt show, you doing the Morricone show. It's not about that. It's about the movie. You're there in service of the movie. Some people say in service of the audience. I don't always agree with that. You're there to serve the movie. The movie is designed by people who have spent literal years, sometimes hundreds of people spending literal years making this impossible thing happen. Think about the number of steps that have to go into making a movie. Somebody has to have a thought. Somebody has to write the script. Somebody has to revise the script. Somebody has to get the money in order to do that. Then they have to get the money to convince somebody to make it or to fund it to be making it themselves. Have all the skills and know-how that it takes to make a movie. Convince people to come and work on that movie. Make the goddamn thing. Edit the thing, find a place for it to be shown, get all the people and resources that are required to package that movie at the end, and then the motherfucker has to be good. It actually has to be good. It's a logical impossibility. It's a set of miracles within miracles, Matryoshka doll miracles to make a movie even exist in the first place. So when it gets to you, that's thousands of hours of love and labor in the most basic movie to the biggest blockbuster out there. So then your job is to figure out and to take seriously, regardless of whether the movie is your taste or not, regardless of whether you think it's the best movie in the world or not the best movie in the world, your job is to take the feelings and story and impressions and commentary and belief system of the movie seriously. You have to perform through whatever tools you have the emotional underpinning and structural emotional underpinning of the movie, and then get it out the speakers at the other end. So you're one of that last little links. You create a tremendous amount of content for a movie that you have very little control over. And at the end of that, that content needs to build the movie up. So then what you have to ask yourself is, what's your thing? Why would you be hired to make that movie? So what is it that you do? Are you a singer? Are you a songwriter? Are you a bass player in a dub band? Do you like to compose for small orchestras? Do you play ragas? Do you play an assortment of instruments? Do you like to be in front of the camera or not? Do you like to be the center of attention? Do you like to perform? You may find that those elements of your musicianship fight you a little bit when you're a composer because you spend all of your time away from that center of focus. If you're used to excelling as a performer, you may find that you feel like a little bit of something gets lost. That's okay, it's normal. But then what is your thing? So like, what's your thing that you're bringing to the movie? Are you composing in other people's styles? Is there a unique thing that you do that got you hired in the first place? Do you make your own beats using chest percussion or body percussion? You know, it could be a lot of different things, but you got to figure out whether your thing is what you're being hired for, and also whether your thing is what suits the movie. So here's a great example. If you think about architecture, you think about like beautiful old buildings in parts of the world where buildings have been standing up for thousands of years. And you think about somebody trying to take one of those Super Bowl, like big arena domes and putting it on top of that building. It might be the most beautiful retractable roof in the world. It might be the pinnacle of technological advancement for arena style buildings in the whole world. But if that building crumbles under the weight of your score, it's your fault. So what you have to do is figure out what that balance is. Are you writing a massive orchestral score for a romantic comedy? That might not really work. Are you really committed to playing banjo and ukulele on a war movie? That's not really going to match, tonally speaking. So then how do you figure out, what your thing is and whether that's right for the movie? You practice and you watch a lot of movies, which could be worse. You got to watch a lot of movies for your homework. That's all right. I'm gesturing with my fucking coffee. So you're a musician. You like movies. You see cool musicians like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. You see, you loved movies like Arrival, or you loved movies like Melancholia or Nymphomaniac or The Thing, or whatever kind of movies you love. How do you make the leap? Okay, so what do you need in order to be able to do that job? You need a couple of things. One, you need to have enough technical knowledge to be able to get your ideas in very high resolution audio combined with the screen and exported for use in Pro Tools. Pro Tools is the industry standard for delivery, but that doesn't have to mean that your industry standard writing tool has to be Pro Tools. As I said, a lot of people do this a lot of different ways. People are using Ableton Digital Performer, Cubase, Nuendo, Logic, Pro Tools, a bunch of other things. Dorico is coming out. Some people write solely in Sibelius. Some people start with a pencil and a piece of manuscript paper. It really depends on where you feel most fluent. Fluency for the purpose of creation is the key. And then it's a matter of getting it into whatever DAW or digital audio workspace you choose to use. As long as what happens is that the tech specs of what you're delivering match what you're being asked for, it doesn't really matter how you get there. As long as your ideas are rendered in high creative quality and high resolution. So as long as your frame rate, bit rate, and bit depth are correctly set to whatever is being expected by the post team, how you get there isn't actually that important. What matters is that you get the ideas into the space and you make sure that they suit the movie. You can be really analog, you can be really digital, or a combination of those things. It's very, very common. So then, are you just going to write something and the director's going to go, this is wonderful, this is amazing, I love it, I've never heard anything quite so amazing? Probably not. And that has nothing to do with you. So then the most important thing that you can have outside of being able to write music is you need to have your ego in check. Any mediocre technician of any sort can learn more, but if they are not a person who is willing to learn or be flexible or take that critical feedback or let things roll off them, you are not going to get ahead. And that's not because your ideas aren't good, but because you're a pain in the ass. Nobody wants to work with a pain in the ass. I don't, you don't, she doesn't, nobody does. And there is too much community in our community for people to put up with it. So the name of the game is, can you get your shit together enough for somebody to say that they really strongly dislike your ideas and have you not react? Other than to say, great, I'm excited to write more. What do you want? You become the emotional translator of screen-based media for the audience, for the director, and for your own musicianship. You have to be able to parse feelings in a saleable, malleable, manipulatable way for the benefit of the audience, and also so you don't feel like you're getting screwed around at the end of a project. So you need to get your ego in check. That might mean therapy. That might mean having a really good health process and exercise routine to get that stress out. It might mean that you realize that you can't work as much as you would like to, or that you need more deadlines, or that you need more support or more help, or you need to update your skill set. But if you're reacting negatively to critical feedback from a director or a producer or both, you're going to have a hard time, because feedback is the core of this business. I was saying a little bit earlier that quite often in the first 3 to 5 minutes of a movie, you might have as many as 30 notes. You might send something that you think is a beautiful composition and they hate it. They might fire you even. And that is something that you have to just be okay with, that people can say no to you, no to your idea, no thanks to what you did, and it can still be a good idea. If you set a default translation that no, or I don't like it, or yeah, this doesn't feel good, it feels slow, it feels boring, it's too fast, it's frantic, it's annoying, I don't like it, that sucks. Sometimes people give you really crappy, unhelpful feedback, but it's your job to translate. That's your deal. You're the prism through which the emotions come out the speakers. So you got to reflect. You have to align both sides of yourself. You've got your artist and you've got your technician. So the artist in you wants to have the creative idea, wants to explore, wants to have all of your little nuggets of creativity looked at and brought up and shined up and shown off to the world. And that is good. And you need to keep a hold of that. And then you have your technician, and your technician is the one who gets the job done. And the technician and the artist have to live together. The technician understands the parameters of planning out your project, understands delivery, understands that you're not always going to have every single idea respected or even liked. The technician in you has to understand that at the end of the day, you're an artist, but you're doing a job. So what that comes down to is, how do you make decisions? How do you make decisions about what projects you're going to accept, how you're going to be treated, how you're willing to move in the industry? And that comes down to your ethics. So as I mentioned earlier, the thing that you might need to do most of all is not learn how to decode a movie, not how to break down the technical side of things. What you might need is therapy. What you might need is a mentor who can help you when you start to bristle up a little bit and challenge the authority of somebody who isn't a musician, who is still your boss. You might need to do some work to get that part of you under control. There's a fantastic shop in Vancouver called the Pussy Shop. It's a waxing shop. And they have this chalkboard outside. And for almost a month, they had this thing written on there and it said, "Your ego is not your amigo." And I remember having this little breakthrough for myself. And I'm shocked that it took me this long, but I'm glad that it happened when it did, which was learning that part of me that was always feeling like I had to puff my chest out and impress people, that I had to walk into a room and kick the fucking door down and be like, "What the fuck is up?" That part of me, that artist part of me that is overcompensating, was losing me work. I was fucking up because I was trying to prove too much all the time. And I learned that the part of me that has an ego that is confident and sometimes overconfident, overcompensating, is exactly the same part as a part of me that is terrified that I'm going to get caught. Not knowing, not being the right person, faking it, fucking up, getting it wrong. And that's just going to happen anyway. You're always going to be wrong at some point. In a project, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be incorrect. Your yen for whatever scoring choice, musical choice, creative choice is not going to be right for the movie. And you're not the expert on the movie. You're the expert on music. The expert on the movie is the director. and the producer and the writer, depending on the structure of the key creatives on the project. They know the movie better than you do. Your job is to get that information from them, give it your best shot with everything you've got, and then to be flexible. You cannot get through this business unless you are flexible, and that takes practice. So, if you're used to being the center of attention, if you're used to your ideas being the most special in the entire room, if you're used to getting your way all the time, you might have a hard time. However, if you're loving and creative and ethical and you want to leave each community better than you found it, if you remember that you're on unceded ground, unceded territory, you're a guest in the production, you're a guest where you are, and you act like a good guest, you're going to do well.